It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. I literally just got done making a tattoo progress update, but I was too excited and I had to do this one right away. I had a session with Rick on my left arm, and this was just tattooed last week. It's nice and bold now, and the bright red highlights stayed really well after the second pass. Rick and I did all the dark shading and the bold black outline again up here. As you can see, this in here is all healed from last week, stayed nice and dark, and this stuff in here is fresh. So this will look more like that. So it's not going to fade back much this time after being done between 2 and 3 times in different areas. If I'm a little jittery, it's because I've just been tattooed and I need a big meal. I'm a little depleted. I bled quite a bit. I'll show off what I got done here. I couldn't wait to show this off, so I'm really excited with how this came out. I've been talking for a while about wanting to incorporate more red into the torso. After we did the moon and it turned out really, really good, I couldn't wait to start reworking some of my old stuff on my torso with the red. And I think it's pretty clear where this is all gonna go. It's pretty clear that I'm gonna add more red detailing throughout all of the stuff on my torso, and it's very obvious where. So I've been thinking for a long time about this, how I'm gonna pull apart the background and the foreground. And I think doing this red shading in between the white and black shading is really gonna help ramp up the contrast all over my torso and pull it into the red that I built up onto the top of me. So my neck and my sleeves, because there's going to be quite a bit of the red velvet in this sleeve as well. Having that red throughout more is going to really make everything connect quite a bit better. Obviously we hit the black and the white highlights in here again, and some of the eyes got kind of buried when we did the tentacles, and now having done this pass over them, they come back out a bit. So, and again, it pushes the chest piece out more to have that black behind them. So really a whole slew of effects were achieved with that. Very happy with how the eyes are looking in general. The spider eyes were one of my favorite tattoos that I've ever done. I was very thrilled with how they went, but a number of things have happened since I had them done. First off, they haven't been tattooed in around 2 years. I never did the white a second time. I was always talking about doing the white shading in between again if I ever got some time with Rick, and we just been so fucking busy we never got to it. So for me, I always wanted to clean that up, and Terry had some space, and I told him what I wanted to do. My idea to put the red shading in between everything, do a second pass on the red, do another pass on the, or I guess it's the third pass on the red there. My chest was really dark. But anyway, I wanted to do another pass on the red, the white highlights again, and the black. But I also wanted to enhance the contrast of the spider eyes in general by adding some red. I didn't want to use the same red that I've been using everywhere, this being red velvet. We've tried, I think, 5 or 6 different reds over black, and they all work to some degree. But I do see the red velvet as more of a background red, whereas the nebula red I've liked the most as a red, like something to put in the foreground. The really red works really well too, no pun intended. And we tried a pomegranate. I didn't like that one as much. The pomegranate almost has a really blue look to it. It's interesting that a red could be so blue, but it just didn't have a very dominant red base to it, so it kind of went a little blue on us. But nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Overall, I've found that nebula red is the most striking of reds for like trying to get an actual red on black. This in here is nebula red, for example, and that's 2 years old again. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it came together. It's very clear that I'm not done. As soon as I seen it, I was like, not only do I know where it's going, everyone is going to know where it's going next. It's very clear that we're going to be doing more of that red all throughout here, and everywhere that we have this this white and black shading is going to have red added to it. And it's going to really enhance the whole thing. I'm already excited to get going on that. So I can imagine probably by the end of the year, all of the white and black shading that I have there will have hints of red added to it. We might get into a place where I do some dark red shading too. Right now I'm still trying to figure it out. I gotta wait and see how this settles out before deciding how I want to do that. But I think, especially because all of that stuff has been settled for a really long time, that anything we touch it with now, it's doing the same thing I said with this sleeve, where this was a red on black sleeve, sure, but once the red had settled for a really long time, it's more like you're doing red on red. So the parts that are like lighter that we did white on black, they should be pretty open to change now. I do think that when you mix colors with white, they do get a little bit duller sometimes, but all that stuff's been settled for so long now that I think that it's just going to take really well to anything else we introduce to it. It's not working from that darker base, you know, like when a blackout is newer, it's a little harder to cover, and the older the work gets, the easier it is to cover. So I put more distance between myself and the black, essentially, and now I think that it's gonna go in like butter. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Next up, I've got my back blackout starting with Terry. I've talked about that ad nauseum, but that's coming up right away here. This appointment, I wasn't even sure was going to happen on my chest. It's just, we ended up with some time, and I was excited to do it. So it was a little hard for Terry to wrap his mind around, but he's learned by now, just jump in. Like, I've got a million ideas to get to still. And whenever we get going, it's always like, this does look cool, you know? He gets super into it, and it just kind of works out. But for anyone out there that thinks that I'm just randomly doing shit, that's not the case. All of this stuff is stuff that I'll be laying up in bed at night thinking about, or like I'll be, you know, laying around after a workout just kind of, you know, thinking about, well, I wonder what I can do to make this thing stand out more, or what can we do to pull this apart, you know? There's always those kinds of thoughts in my head. I believe it or not, I have some thoughts of putting some yellow line work in some places too, which is probably insane for some people to think about. But when you look at all the different colors interacting with black and how they age and what they're doing in the skin, the two colors that I have the most faith in are yellow and yellow and red on black. And I've even found orange to be particularly effective. I don't know where I would use that yet. This is the kind of thing that if I lived forever, if there was no expiration date on my body, for example, I would probably just keep tweaking things, because I don't think that any human will live long enough to find the limits to what our skin can bear. And I really don't think that anyone has. Like, I get so many people who are like, is there a limit to what you can do with this? Like, can you go too far? Like, will your skin stop taking ink at some point? It was some weird old school tattooer knowledge or wisdom at one point that after 3 passes, your skin wouldn't take anymore. I've heard that from famous tattooers before. I just don't think that they had any idea what they were talking about. I don't think that was ever tested. I think I'm in the territory of the giants now, where I can safely say that areas on me have been tattooed more than anyone else who's ever lived. I don't know of anyone else who's had up to 30 sessions in the same area. I don't know of anyone else who can confidently say that their whole body has been tattooed between 5 and 30 times. People like this to throw around, you know, he's working on his 3rd bodysuit, or I guess you could even say I'm approaching my 4th bodysuit by some people's standards. But there's so much more that goes into a body of work when you get this far into it, you know. You look at any square inch of my body, most of it has been saturated much more than that. It's not just 3 layers, it's countless layers, you know, like I can't even remember all the times we've tattooed certain spots. It's things like the fact that parts of this arm we're already on the 3rd layer of, and we're not even close to finished, you know, and that's over top of layers of black over layers of old tattoos. It's never a one and done with me. Everything that I touch once will get done more than once. It will get refined and reworked and added to, and if my skin is still taking ink, then that means that there is no real limit that we've found. I don't know how many layers you'd have to go. I mean, just the fact that, like, it's still hard to believe that these roses were red at one point, because they look almost black and gray now, you know? It's crazy to think that this whole thing was black. All of this was black not very long ago, and we were able to cover it, you know? All of these things are things that people said were impossible. My chest, the way it looks right now, you should never be able to get, like, if you were to think what we thought 10 years ago, or even just a few years ago, you would never assume that you could get something that vibrant over black. And yes, it's going to fade off a bit, but it's not going to fade back much this time. We're in the territory of tattooing now that this looks like it was done over negative space. It doesn't look like it was done over black. I want to get my entire torso up to that level. Some people will hate this direction. I've had some people who are like, don't change your torso. What's good about it is that, you know, it's just black and gray essentially, like the way I have it now. It's like, there's going to be people saying that no matter what direction I take with this. And when I do these sessions like today, or like when we did the one on the moon with the red outline, the double red outline and the soft red shading inside to pull things apart, or like the work over top of my head blackout recently, those are those things that they make me the happiest about tattooing right now, in that it's still such a new industry. Like, people think that it's been around forever, there's nothing left to learn, but no, you're fucking crazy if you think that. Like, there's no limit to this thing. We haven't even touched the surface. Like, we're not even close. Even with the amazing work that's being done around the world on blank canvases every day for the most part, we may be in a whole new realm of tattooing eventually if we ever do perfect the life cycle of a human. Like, some people are working on things that would keep us alive for much longer, or even possibly forever. And if we get to that point, multi-layer is going to be the thing. And so even if I don't live forever, which I don't believe I will, and I don't really want to, multi-layer work and the experimenting of multi-layer work is very valuable to us down the road, because if we're going to be living for thousands of years, potentially, again, not my favorite idea, but if humans want it, we try and get it, right? There's a drive to be immortal. If we're living in our bodies for 1,000 years, theoretically, we're going to want to change our tattoos. And the idea that there's no limit, the idea that I could say, black out all of this, let it settle, and then do it again in a different way, it essentially means that we can do as many different tattoos as we want. There's no limit. And that's the greater takeaway of this. The greater takeaway of this isn't do you or do you not like my chest piece? Do you or do you not like the red shading I added to my spider eyes? Do you or do you not think that I've lost my mind, which most of you probably believe I have? The greater takeaway is that there are no limitations to how much you can do if you're patient. That's the important thing. Now, probably ranted a little while. I'm very excited about this. This is, probably even more than the moon. This is one of my most exciting tattoo sessions I've had in a while, and that says a lot because most of them are a lot of fun anyway. When you're doing things that you don't see get done every day or ever, it really is always a good time. It's always fun to see something that people don't believe work. That will never get old to me. It will never get old to me being on the fringe of discovery and in a way on the frontier of industry. That part of it will always be ripe. With that said, I have no session with Rick for the next few weeks. I'm going to be missing the progress on the arm, but the arm could probably use a few weeks off anyway. And when we do start again, we're going to be straight into full color. Whereas my next session is going to be my back. I think we're going to get a huge chunk of it done. I think we're probably going to get maybe a third of it. Could be half of it. I don't know. My back is mostly black and gray and white, white highlights, so it should cover fairly easily. A lot of what we're doing on me is, full color over full color, so it's a little harder to saturate. But on my back, that's the last remaining stretch of like negative space and soft shading and all that shit. So it should take the black pretty quick. We're going to be using dynamic black for that again, because we're going to eventually go over it with Panthera black. And all of my blackout was done with a dynamic base so that we could then cover it with a different color. That wasn't always the intention, but now that we figured that out, in hindsight, it was a good thing. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.